She has completed her PhD from JNU and has been teaching at Delhi University colleges for the last 13 years. She has authored books on women's education and British Constitution. She is the founder of Madhubani Literature Festival, and we have associated this program with them. And the objective behind starting the Madhubani Literature Festival, and also Mithili Machan, she has founded Mithili Machan as well. This is with the objective of promoting regional languages and literature. Over to you, Dr. Savita. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, Savita ji.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ragasudha ji. And very, in fact, warm welcome to everybody. A very good evening. सब गोटे के गोर लागे छी, प्रणाम करे छी, और आशा करे छी जे एकटा ई उत्सव अछि, एकटा आयोजन अछि, जेकरा रागासुधा जी आर हिनकर जे संस्था छनि संस्कृति सेंटर फॉर कल्चरल एक्सेलेंस, जेकरा एकटा समायोजन केलथि है, ओकरा लेल अपना सबके आशीर्वाद बनल रहत। एकर संगे जे छै से हमर आय के दायित्व अछि जे हम मधुबनी लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल के बारे में किछु बाजिए, किछु बताबिए। So to begin with, in fact, switching over to for a wider audience, I believe, I think I am really indebted to, first of all, to my people. And this entire endeavor of Literature Festival, Madhubani Literature Festival, is towards paying back to my community, because today we are what we are due to our community. That plays a big role, right? Our roots has a big role, in fact. So this is a payback gesture, I can say. Madhubani Literature Festival is a festival because it is celebrating our own people, our own local community, our own language, our own being, what we are, our philosophy, our heritage, etc., and literature, of course. But literature is not only literature. What is we are finding in the texts. It is much beyond that. It is literature of the people who are writing their everyday life. In fact, the historicity which we are losing in the process, we are very much conscious of the fact that over a period of time, since Mithila, the core, at the core of this entire Madhubani Literature Festival lies a region called Mithila, which used to be a great seat of learning, philosophy, history, art, etc., and a very, I would say, fantastic, very rich literature place. And that literary place, somewhere we noticed, with the generation of 21st century, we noticed that it's decaying in a way. I mean, we felt that it's decaying. There is coming a process where we forget ourselves. We are forgetting our roots. So this literature festival is actually, I mean, more or less, I would say, commemoration of that memory where we do not forget. There is a clear warning in this literature festival that we must not forget ourselves, where we come from, who we are, uh, who we are living for, who am I, right? So it's a matter of exploration, knowing thyself. In fact, if you look at whole Veda literature, it's in fact gravitated towards one overwhelming feeling that who you are. This question of who we are, in fact, Vidyapati in 14th century, he had asked that who we are. हम सब के छी. And in fact, this literature festival will have, I believe, since it is also resolving the community, in fact, engagement, rural engagement. The site is always, usually, the rural places, the rural locations. And that's with a very conscious mind that our our roots are in rural locations. We come from village. Gam hamar astitva hai. It's our existence. We cannot forget our villages, because villages are basically entities which gives us everything, right from our food to our culture. So we believe, we at Madhubani Literature Festival, we believe that villages are our roots. We must not forget, and this is why the celebration of this literature or of our community is based at these locations, our villages, to begin with. which of course involves our own people, our own tongue, our own mother tongue, our own language. This is also to deal with the science, technology, agriculture. In fact, the purpose of literature festival is to have a cascading effect. That cascading effect has to be, to give birth to more and more art forms. In fact, agitate people, provoke them, that come out with your best. We have been the best. We have many beautiful traditions, like Remant Mishra ji is here, who has, who is working in Madhubani art. Sushmita is here, who has sung a beautiful, beautiful song. We have had beautiful music gharanas. In fact, this whole tongue, Mathili as such, Mathili the language, I mean, is a very lyrical language, I must say. So how do we celebrate all this? In fact, to create a platform. So MLF was an idea to create a platform to bring everything together, the art forms, the science, the agriculture, uh, uh, in fact, every philosophy, tantra, everything on one platform, which from where everybody could speak, people could engage, they could tell their stories themselves. We had an idea of Stri Dalan, where women who form, because we all know that Mithila is a land of Shakti. That's basically a Shakt, primarily or predominantly that's a Shakt tradition. So that Shakt, or the idea of Shakti, must come through. If you look at our logo, Madhubani Literature Festival, the female deity is, the feminine deity is at the core of it. So we genuinely believe that women are at the center of our cultural traditions. And that tradition, the women, in fact, must feel empowered. For that, we created one Istri Dalan, where the idea is to bring people, women entrepreneurs, women themselves, and they'll be narrating their stories themselves. So, Madhubani Literature Festival, I would say that, I mean, it begins with the idea of people telling their own stories, engaging, celebrating their own traditions. We must not forget ourselves. And in that process, we must have, we must engage with others, like we are engaging with your Center for Cultural Excellence. So we must have a wider, in fact, outlook where we know ourselves, at the same time, we know others. We celebrate ourselves, we celebrate others, and in that process we create a beautiful world, because the idea of literature is to create a kind of aesthetics, what we know as saundarya bodh. First of all, if we know who we are, we have the Atma Bodh. We know who we are. So from Atma Bodh, we graduate towards Saundarya Bodh, aesthetics, the sense of aesthetics, right? And then we come towards a cultural celebration, because until unless we have Atma Bodh, we have Saundarya Bodh. If we do not know who we are, if we do not know how beautiful we are not going to celebrate anything. So the purpose, or at the core of this literature festival, is to have Atmbodh, Saundaryabodh, and then the celebration of this Atmbodh and Saundaryabodh to engage with others, right? Because we are going to show the most beautiful parts or sides of ours to the world. That's the basic idea, right? So we are, but it's a multilingual platform. I must say that along with Maithili, which is predominantly the language of Mithila, there are other languages as well. So we try to, in fact, retain that multilinguality, that plural culture of Mithila, because Mithila is not a singular culture. We must understand. It's not unilinear. It's very, very plural. And that's the beauty of Mithila, right? We coexist. We coexist. We celebrate. We, in fact, I would say that we assimilate several cultures. And that's the idea of MLF, where we are ready to assimilate with others. And that's the core of Mithila. That's a very plural society. You have different dance forms, you have different music forms, you have, all kinds of literature, you have all kinds of language. Like, for example, along with Mathili, there are other languages which are 12, 15, 14 languages. There are dialects, sub-dialects, we are existing along with Mathili. So the idea is to have a plural platform where we are assimilative, where we are conscious of the fact that there are others as well, and we kind of try to bring them to a realization that we all can work together, we all can celebrate, we can have a beautiful life, right? So with all this, MLF started. We had various sections uh, where we celebrated women, we celebrated art, we celebrated craft, we celebrated literature, we celebrated the issues which were very, very important. Like for example, last year we dealt with Aaj Bhi Khade Hain Kisan. That entire session was in fact devoted to the idea that Mithila is primarily an agricultural society. So we cannot forget while talking about literature that agriculture has a different, a literature of its own. So we dealt with agricultural literature also, the literature of labor, literature of textiles, literature of bamboo, all the products which speaks through, which has a clear voice, distinct voice of its own. And people must understand that while we are engaging with the what we call the body politic called Mithila, we must be ready to experience the plurality, the multifacetedness, in fact, how uh, accommodative or assimilative we are of other cultures, of other people. We have, in fact, assimilated various kinds of cultures into our own, and then, emerged into a beautiful culture, a very, very accommodative culture, who appreciate other people, who appreciate the other. So this is why the structure of MLF is multilingual. It's a plural platform where everybody is welcome. We have, of course, our own aesthetics to, in fact, collaborate with who we want to or who we don't want to. But primarily it's a platform where people, others are also welcome. So the consciousness of self and the other, the structure of self and the other is there. And we are trying to accommodate as many people, as many themes, as many arts, as many forms of kind of science, craft, other things into MLF gradually. And I hope, since it's the third year, I think, 20, if we, sadly due to COVID, we cannot have festival this time, right? But so this is the third time. Gradually, we hope we evolve into a platform which gives voice to marginalized, primarily people who have hitherto not been kind of spoken about or speaking themselves. At the same time, we are conscious of the fact that we will stop emerging as just one entity from Mithila. We'll be having multiple such platforms. This is what I meant by cascading effect. There will be, suppose, 100 such festivals in every village. Every village must celebrate its own tradition, because Mithila is a basically, I would say, a conglomeration of uh, beautiful traditional villages which are very rich in their craft, in their art. So every village must speak about themselves, for themselves. They must celebrate their culture. They must talk about themselves, tell the world about them. And then, kind of ultimately down the line, 10 years or so, we see that 100 or 200 such festivals are happening in Mithila. Every village has its own kind of festival. And that will be the culmination of Madhubani Literature Festival, I believe. Thank you so much. And it was beautiful listening to Susmita. I hope we'll be listening, more about Mithila Varnan. I think she's going to sing that. So yes, thank you so much, Raghasudha ji. Thank you so much, Center for Cultural Excellence, Sanskriti, Sharad ji, and everybody who is a participant in this thing. And MLF would like to, collaborate more and, work more towards you. So we will have thousands and thousands of such festivals, which will be creating a beautiful world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Savitaji. It is important to have a vision when we are doing events or when we are running activities or running bodies, institutions, companies, or even the cultural associations. We need to have some vision, objective, and purpose with which we can progress further. And when obviously collaborations are always successful, and hopefully, as you said, hopefully, we will be seeing more of the festivals, more of the literature festivals, more of the cultural activities in the future to come. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Savitaji. And now we will go back to Mrs. Sushmita Jha. As I have already mentioned, she's a professor of music at NIFT, and the kind of versatility she has, she's well versed with different gharanas, different music traditions. And Darbhanga Gharana, she has inherited from her own family, from her parents. And she has had tutelage under eminent gurus. Pandit Lakshman Bhatt Tailang for Dhrupad, Gwalior Gharana. Dr. Suman Yadav in Khayal. and Padma Bhushan Dr. Shanno Khurana in Rampur Sahaswan Gharana. So look at the versatility she has had from different gurus. And on this platform today, it is a Mithila Darpan program. She is going to present Mithila folk music, which she normally does with great ease and grace. So she will be now presenting Mithila Varnan. It's a composition of Prakashji, and it includes the uniqueness of the world famous Mithila region. This includes the appearance of Lord Shiva at Mahakavi Vidyapati's house, appearance of Mata Sita Devi and her marriage to Lord Ram, and what more, Yagnavalkya. We have, Madan Mishra ji. We have great people who are actually from this region. So a single song, it is very challenging, to describe everything in a single song. But this particular composition encompasses all this wonderfully. Sushmita ji, over to you.
Thank you so much, Raghavji, for your kind words. Thanks a lot. I'll be explaining a little about this song. As Raga Sudhaji, she explained that Prakash ji has composed this song. उन्होंने शब्द की रचना उन्होंने की है, स्वर की रचना उन्होंने की है, और इनके बहुत सारे कॉम्पोजिशंस हैं मिथिला वर्मन के, जो मिथिला पुत्र श्री उदित नारायण जी ने भी गाया है. तो उनके जो कहते हैं, हम कह सकते हैं गुलदस्ता बहुत सारे मिथिला वर्णनों का, उसमें से एक मुझे भी मिला है. थैंक यू सो मच, उनको मैं बोलती हूँ. ये जो राग है, राग भूपाली पे कॉम्पोजिशन आधारित है, और ताल है पंजाबी ताल शास्त्रीय संगीत का. प्रस्तुत है आपके सामने मिथिला वर्णन.